Yo, 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 my friends, my people, brozos, gigolos, players, playettes. Hey, big week coming in the markets here because, dude, we've got ourselves, a big kind of setup that's happening in the market that we need to be mindful of. Number one, we've pulled back the last few days. We're kind of holding into some supports. And so, the market is just in a big, kind of big old gelatinous range. But the SPY here has held on the breakout spot and the 20 SMA. We're at like really some good locations here. The IWM held basically at the 50, coming back through. Like these are good setups, right? And the Qs is doing it too. And beyond that, I don't know. A lot of people have been complaining that the market's a little bit choppy, but dude, from what I can gather, like Friday was some hot heat in the market. Like it really was. Maybe not in AI names or semiconductor names, but there was some hot heat. If you're looking, right, like a little bit better gauge here. I mean, if you're looking, dude, you got 300 stocks that are up 25% for the month, 67 that are up 50%, right? If you're looking really like in any metric, like even if you're thinking on Friday, right? Like number of stocks up 69%, QQQ even 70%, the Russell's up 60%. Like I would say overall, like things are looking like a little bit jiggy. Market breadth. I use the T2108 and most of the time the T2107 to get a gauge of market breadth, percent stocks above the 200, and this is just neutral at the moment, but it is kind of moving its way forward slightly. But I would just say, like on the eye test, there was a lot of amazing stuff happening. I talked a bunch. I have quite a few students of mine that own websites like Bulls on Wall Street that have their own services and stuff. And that was one of the things I was reaching out to like some of my old students about. Like they're like, hey, the market's choppy, cash is a position, and I'm like, motherfucker, like, don't you ever say that shit. I taught you better than that. Right? Like, like, whoa, don't be doing that shit, right? There's always something to be trading. There may not always be a swing traders market or a position traders investors market, but on the day trading side, there's always something to do. And even on the swing trading side, you can squeeze out. You can squeeze out a couple turds when you need to. And if you really look, like I had on my liquid gainer scan, there's 188 names. Like really liquid stocks with expanding volume that fit like some of the criteria that I'm looking for. So that's pretty good. Like, and then if you're just looking, like you see stocks, right? Like you see stocks like PSNL, right? Like just ripping tits, and what's it like SLS, right? Like some of these biotechs, ripping tits, and TGTX, right? Like kind of like these kind of names, which I think they look great. And we get used to tech and stuff like that. Like when I started trading, man, biotechs, it was biotechs one, tech number two, right? Like the biggest, hottest runners are always in biotech. So, keep an eye on the whole sector. What you should be doing is really doing a deep dive into every single index. So like even in TC 2000, for example, they have industry indexes here. If you do a 90-day sort, you see 40%, 39%, 37%, like, like you have very bullish sectors: health automation, business equipment, diagnostics. Like, dude, there's a lot of these diagnostic stocks that are like just cooking and booking. I had a swing trade TWST for a hot second. Like PSNL, a lot of people are talking about. Like, dude, it's a big sector. There's stocks out here. Obviously, filter out for like the nonsense. And if you look here, like staffing and resources, right? Like, bros, we've been talking about this one for a while, but like copper, what a me. First of all, that's an 8% move in the sector, right? So you look, average person looks like, well, if tech stocks are not going, I'm just going to sit in my corner and jerk myself off in my mom's basement. I have nothing to do with my simulator money. But 8% is a huge move for a sector, right? And then if you're looking at the pattern, it's a picture perfect pattern. So like if you're having trouble, like, pivoting, just take some Adderall, do the weed. What's it the cig weeds? Like, no, people don't do weeds anymore because it's too smelly, right? Like white people are really weird about the smells now. Like you can't smoke ciggies, you can't do the weeds, and then they do the gummies. It's like, let me put drugs inside gummy bears, right? But I won't eat regular gummy bears because I'm on keto and I got to do Barry's boot camp. But let me put drugs inside my gummies. I'll eat those, but I won't eat regular gummies because of the sugar, right? But like just take this and instead of copper, just put like tick something, right? And because in the end, it's just tickers, right? So this is hot. That's a caliente, my friends. That's hot in Spanish for those of you guys that never met any Hispanics. Look at this packaging and containers. Like this is good shit. Dude, this is good shit. Like this not so much. This not so much. Like this. That's a muchos buenos. This is a muchos buenos. It's a quesos blancos, my friends. It's a quesos and a blancos. Look at this shit, right? Like, so you got stuff to do. Now, look, a lot of these sectors, like they're trending, but they don't have like very liquid names in them. So it's not for everybody. But this is how I always look at it. You need huge liquid stocks to day trade. If you are swing trading, 1-2 million shares a day is more than fine for most of you guys. Like nobody's trading with that kind of size where you need like 30, 50 million shares for swing trades, right? So it's a little bit different. You have to differentiate your styles. In my life, my best swing trades have been in more undiscovered names that are starting up that maybe are a little bit less liquid. I always kind of use a million or more as a kind of a base, but they have lower floats, a little bit less liquid, and those are the ones that tend to skip. Like if you're sitting there you're like a swing trader, you're trying to swing trade Apple, like get out of here, right? You're like trying to swing Microsoft, like come on, like that ain't how those guys ever built their accounts. Like if you read any Mark Minervini books or anything like that, like dude, he wasn't trading, like the big fat blue chips most of the time. So like a lot of people trade these like VCP patterns and stuff like that, and it's like, and they're trying to apply it to like $1 trillion companies, and it's like that's not how it works. All right. So just kind of be mindful. And by the way, metals are hot, right? Like we got some swings in silver right now, and silver calls. Like gold is creeping, silver's creeping. It's got a day with the 200, if not much higher. I don't know if the technical analyst could probably draw some lines here, but I don't see it. Now, beyond that, so gold goes, then silver goes, now copper's going. So the natural hot potato of life is then you go to this other shit, right? So now you can go with like a CRML. You got a little W bottom here. That's a muchos and a buenos belly chow. Yo, that's hot, right? MA, that's for the 55 and plus. You may have to do options on that pass. Yo, Shopzilla. So there's a bunch of these kind of software stocks that this is for me, I would swing trade. Like I wouldn't day trade Shop. Like it's not, it's liquid enough, but like to me, this is more of a swing setup, right? So you get a pop up, you pull back, right into your EMAs, and you're starting to kind of build out some levels, So if you look at like a 15-minute chart, right, you're kind of building something out here. Not 158 right here, right? At 150. That's a muchos and a buenos belly chow. That's nice, real nice. Oscar. I like this actually because, it did the fake breakout and then it pulled back into the bone zone. That to me is usually like a surefire breakout setup. Like when they pop it, everybody draws their lines, the line drawers, right? The line drawers draw their lines. A lot of traders just draw lines. They don't know about trading. They're not really reading, right? They're not reading, anticipating properly in terms of all the conditions that are involved. They just draw lines and they buy. Well, if you're a line drawer, then you get wicked out. But what's been happening is they kind of pull back and then they rip it back. I won't be surprised to see this thing rip tits tomorrow. And by the way, these are evil companies, so we shouldn't really profit from it. If not, I'm donating it to the Lord Himself. These guys, United Healthcare is evil. These are like double evil. Just remember that. Hey, RBRK. Hey, I don't got that many morals, but I hate healthcare companies. I don't even have healthcare, but I just pay cash. Right? Like none of that stuff. Pop up. Not that I haven't been to the doctor since 1989, but I'm assuming that at some point I'm going to have to go. Obviously, I'm a pristine specimen, so it's a little bit different. But you got boom, pop up. That's nice, right? Real nice. So keep an eye on RBRK. Boom, ABBV looking buenos. PLTR, I was hoping for more consolidation, and it still may need it. It may pop up for a few days and kind of do that thing. Usually like a few weeks would be really nice, but that's a good setup for a short term setup. Osty Tosty here. That's a mucho cena buenos. Yo, I'm really into this butterfly because this medical devices sector is like, that's been hopping. This to me looks like something that could be, let's just pretend this nub never happened. That was the second test. One test. Two tests are for losers. Three tests are for wieners. That's always the roll, right? So second test popped up, doesn't hold. Third test, we're here. You got the 9 EMA curling right up under the kitchen. Like, that's a good setup. Guys, there's stuff out there. It's not necessarily like the sexiest stuff. Like, I've been trading my whole life. Like, I don't like trading fucking gold stocks and stuff like that. But, we take what we can get. Pagaya. I don't even know how to draw the lines on this one. We'll have to ask one of these CMTs, right? Again, and let's find a CMT and ask him, sir, according to your college degree of drawing lines, like how how should I be drawing this? I'm thinking 22 is a trigger, and then maybe 23 is like another one. Dude, there's a bunch of these little men. I don't trade, really small cap stocks, but I put these on for the bros because what happens with like metals is like the big ones start to go, and then like you start to see a bonanza in some of these little ones. So like this one looks pretty good. UUU, which was like a really hot one for a while. Now you got a nice range break on this bad boy. A TGTX, a biotech stock that looks a mucho cena buenos. IE, this is a copper stock. Got some catch up to do. I mean, it's probably a big turd, obviously, with copper breaking out at down here. Tis the season. Let's do that. Right? DNA. Man, this one's actually very liquid. It did 50 million shares. TMC. So I couldn't figure. I forgot which one was the rare earths one, if it was TMC or TMQ. One of them is like the undersea vacuums, where they like have vacuums and they like vacuum sand, and then like they get shit out of it. And then one of them is like more of a rare earths. But hey, and by the way, like I think this SC this popped up on earnings. Now you're pulling back right into like multiple layers of support. Let's see how this works out. So guys, there's stocks out there, and I jest a lot. I'm always goofing around, but like we got to adapt with the markets, and we just got to kind of right, like we got to roll with the punches and take what we can get here, because there is stuff there. Sometimes like the negative like mindset of like, oh, the market is choppy or the market's not giving us something, like it kind of like beats us down. And then what happens is, we reduce our preparation, we reduce our intensity, our tenacity, and then, we convince ourselves that there's nothing to do when, frankly, there's always something to do. Like, that's the way it goes, man. But that's why I do think, like, in the beginning, it's very good. It's important to master like one or two setups. But when you start having years of experience, like you have to be multidisciplinary, meaning like you need to trade different ways. You need to know how to day trade, swing trade, invest. You need to know how to do stocks. You may have to dive into futures. That's, and you need to know, because charts are charts in the end, price action is price action, but you need to figure out how to do a lot of things. So, because there's always a hot market somewhere, and in the end, charts are charts. And like from what I've noticed, because I used to trade like a lot of cryptocurrency, I've done a lot of futures. Dude, the patterns are like all the same. It's all the same shit. So like wherever the action is, like that's where our job is to go. Biotechs, tech, futures, cryptos, it doesn't really matter, right? I'm speaking of cryptos, I didn't mention them because I think, they've had 3 big days of move. Like we need probably a couple red days on this now. So, I like, I don't want to be pumping some of these to you guys when you've had 3 big days. These are big rebounding moves, and they are important. So let's hope that we can flag out for a few days. I think that'll give us some jitters. All right. I love you guys. Peace.